Good day and welcome to Predators Proclivity, where we look at data from the season for the NHL Nashville Predators and make comments upon it. I am your host, Preston Proctor. This is kind of a special edition, recording this on Sunday. The Predators play tomorrow night. Got through my script and I said, well, let's just record it today. This is being a holiday week, and the Preds have two home games around Thanksgiving on Wednesday and Friday. And then they've got an away game on Saturday. And so I'm like, well, with everything going on, this could be kind of a busy week to begin with. So hey, we got time. Let's just get in the studio and do it. So, usually only like to record in the mornings because my voice is a lot better. I've been sick a lot lately, so it didn't really matter. I think it'll be okay today. If it's not, you know what the complaint line is. Anyway. Okay. Tomorrow night's opponent. Well, first off, I guess I have a couple of shout outs. One, I was watching the Preds game against Winnipeg, and those of you that listen to the show a lot, I don't complain a lot about the Preds announcers, but I do it on a fairly regular basis, but not every show. The TV announcers are not my favorite. I've always kind of, I'm watching them a lot more, so they don't bother me as much as they used to. I still don't think that they are. I think that they could be better, I guess would be the way to put it. I spent a lot of time in Los Angeles, and whenever there was a penalty, Jim Fox would explain it. If he had questions about why it was a penalty or something like that, he would call Toronto, or somebody would call Toronto. And then he'd come back and he'd say, okay, this is what the office says. Which, reminded me, I was reminded of this when there was a game, I think it was against Colorado, and there was a potential too many men on the ice. They had 6 guys on the ice. One of the guys just coming on the ice, the puck hit his foot. I think that's the situation. And they did not call, and I guess Roman Josi got really upset about the whole thing, and the bench kind of went, the Predators bench kind of went nuts. But not exactly sure why that wasn't called. I didn't really see anything about it later. But that's one of the things that I think Jim Fox would have clarified. And I think there's still an opportunity for that here. But I do want to give them credit. The other night I was listening, and early in the game, there was a bench minor, too many men on the ice. Similar circumstance here. And Evangelista served the penalty. And into the penalty, the announcers actually explained that it wasn't a penalty against Evangelista, that he was serving it. I think they probably could have been a little bit more about, does the person have to have been on the ice? Can it be anybody? And when explaining the penalty, and I think that's useful. Because you have to remember, not everybody listening to the Preds broadcast, know the rules of hockey. And if you go to the game, you can tell there are a lot of people who don't. So I think, especially in a city like this where people are coming to it, and, going to Preds games is kind of fun, and people may not have been in hockey a whole lot. So explaining the rules constantly, which is what the Kings announcers do, and I appreciate it. I've been around hockey for, 20 years. I was a scorekeeper for the LA Kings, the practice facility, and I had to learn a lot about what signals the refs give, because they'd come up, they'd give me a signal, and they'd give me a number, and I'd be like, excuse me, can you come back? What was that? And so I had a good opportunity there to learn a lot about the rules of hockey. That kind of thing fascinates me. I was a rules official for golf. I was an official with USA Cycling. So I like to know what the rules are so I know how to break them. but that's not true. Anyway, but anyway, I find that thing kind of fascinating, and it's good just to understand, right? And so, I think that the Preds announcers could be better, but they did explain that, and I have to give them credit for having done that. Maybe they have done it before. I can't claim to pay attention to every game and the announcers because they do kind of annoy me. So I always feel like it's kind of like an indoor, like an inside club, that everybody on the show talking thinks everybody knows what they know. And so they're bringing up stuff and no clue. I was watching the Tennessee Titans game today, and those announcers doing the same thing. This one guy's going on and on about how he loves the quarterback run, and I'm like, well, I don't know who this guy is. I don't know why he's making a big deal of it. Obviously, he thinks it's funny. But, no context. I didn't watch the whole game. I kind of had it on and was doing other things, and then I started hearing this comment, and I'm like, what in the world? I mean, okay, not everybody's going to get everything that you say all the time, but I think that it really, when I moved here, and I know a lot about hockey. I didn't know a whole lot about the Predators. I knew Pekka Rinne, one of the best goaltenders ever. May have won the Vezina once. Probably not, since he plays in the Western Conference. No. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Western Conference, probably not, because in the last 30, not this past year, but the 30 years prior to this past year, award years, 25 of the Vezina trophies went to Eastern Conference goaltenders. Only 5 went to Western Conference goaltenders, even though they won 12 Stanley Cups. Another little rant of mine. But didn't know a lot about the Predators, and so, started watching, and I'm like hearing all this stuff, and it's like, what you guys are talking about just sounds like a couple of guys in their dorm room talking to each other, and so it's gotten a little better for me to watch the games when they start doing that kind of stuff. I think the call of their game is fine, but when they start going on about stuff, a lot of times I'm lost. I'm just completely lost. So I don't enjoy that, and I'm not going to go back and do research on everything that they're making allusions to because I don't necessarily know. But anyway, that was supposed to be a call out and a good thing to say about the guys, but it feels to me like it was just more of an opportunity not to congratulate them. But I was happy to hear that. I was happy to hear that. I had to go get my wife and go, hey, look, they actually explained something about how hockey works. Woohoo! And I guess the other thing I want to call out here is, the Preds won. They beat they arguably the worst team in the league right now, beat the best team in the league. On NHL.com, top stories is the Blues fired their coach and hired somebody else, and Sidney Crosby scored 600 goals. The Maple Leafs host Utah and seek their 4th win in a row. On ESPN, on their main site, there's an article about how great the Jets are and how long will it last. Yeah, the Preds won last night. Or was that just too commonplace today? Anyhow, that's right. It was a Western Conference game, so nobody cares. But wait a minute. It's in Nashville. It's in the Central Time Zone. It came on at 6 o'clock here. Whatever. It's a whole different story, but kind of got into it. Anyway, Predators proclivity. So tomorrow night, the Predators go on the road for one game only, to take on the New Jersey Devils. The Devils are potentially as dangerous of an opponent as the Jets. Now, the Jets, number 1 team in the league. Depending on which graph you look at, or which page you look at, even on NHL.com, they're either second or third. It's funny, on their main page, if you look at standings and you look at it by the league, it shows them as third. But if you go to the stats page and you look at it, they show the Devils as second. So Winnipeg is second in one and third in the other. I don't know what to make about that. But anyway, the New Jersey Devils are 14-7-2. They're another team that had last year they did not make the playoffs. I'll kind of go into that a little bit more. They finished seventh in the Metropolitan last year. Did not make the playoffs. This year they're 14-7-2 overall, 5-3-2 at home. So doing much better right now on the road than they are at home. They are number one in the Metropolitan Division with 30 points. They are 1 point ahead of Carolina, but they have played 3 more games. So I would really figure them to probably be more the second place in the Metropolitan. But right now they've got the points. Carolina could easily lose 3, and then they would, be even on games. They said they are tied for second in the league. According to the NHL website, Minnesota wins that tie because they have fewer games played, which gives them a better percentage of wins. But if you look at the stats page, it shows it the other way around. Anyhow, so the Devils started out 5-2. That's a good start. Then they lost 4, 2 of which were in overtime. And then they're 9-3 since then. So they have really been playing well their last 12 games. They are 10-5-2 against the Eastern Conference and 4-2 against the West, 1-0-0 in the Central. Looking up at the goaltenders, both the goaltenders that they had last year, they got rid of, traded them away. 2 new goaltenders this year. The goaltender who's played about 2/3 of the games, Jacob Markstrom, has played about 2/3 of the games. He's 9-5-1, and Jake Allen is 5-2-1. Jake Allen did play in their last game, which was a 3-2 win at Washington. The 2022-2023 goalies were traded away, and they acquired the current goalies in trade. Markstrom they acquired in June in a trade with Calgary, trading defenseman Kevin Ball and a first-round 2025 draft pick. Allen they got back in March when a trade with Montreal for a conditional 2025 pick. He said last season they did finish 7th in the Metropolitan, so they've headed in the right direction, but I think if I remember right, they had a pretty good start to their season last year too. Looking at what these 2 goaltenders did against Nashville last year, Markstrom, who I don't think there's any question we'll see him in goal tomorrow night, was 1-1 against Nashville. He was with Calgary last year, and his win came in Calgary. He lost in Nashville. Allen, 1-1 versus Nashville as well, but he won in Nashville. And I'll try to make some sense out of when Allen played and when he didn't. And it was weird because, if they've got a back-to-back, Allen was played in the second game of the back-to-back. And if they played a team they'd already played, Allen would play that. So it looks like they're playing, when they play a repeat opponent, they're playing Allen instead of sticking with Markstrom. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a theory. It's a way of doing it, a way of getting your backup goaltender some work. Injury update. Right wing Nathan Bastian is on injured reserve, long-term injured reserve as of the 18th, and as of the 18th as well, center Curtis Laser is on injured reserve. Going back to October, defenseman Santeri Hataka is on injured reserve. He had shoulder surgery. So I think all three of those. I don't believe when I was going through the stats, I saw any of those names on the list, just glancing through here again. So I'm not really sure that they're big losses, but they are losses. So, and correspondingly, they have recalled a few people from the Utica Comets. The Utica Comets. Actually, I've been to a minor league game in Utica. A buddy of mine lives up there, and I used to go visit him during the winter, and we'd go see games there. But they recalled defenseman Nick DeSimone, left wing Nolan Foote, F-O-O-T-E. I'm pretty sure he's related to, I think it was Adam Foote, played with Colorado for the longest time. Center Shane Bowers and center Justin Dowling. So those four have been recalled. One thing I thought was interesting, the last broadcast I talked about the goaltender Kaapo Kähkönen, because he was with Winnipeg, waived by Winnipeg, claimed by Colorado, waived by Colorado, picked up by Winnipeg. Well, you know what? He played for the Devils last season and was traded to San Jose for Vitek Vanacek and a 7th-round draft pick, and then as an unrestricted free agent was picked up by Winnipeg. So that guy's been moving around. Last year he was with New Jersey, traded to San Jose, got picked up by Winnipeg, waived by Winnipeg, picked up by Colorado, waived by Colorado, picked up by Winnipeg. I guess he'll get waived and picked up by the Devils next. I don't know. I thought it was funny. Definitely odd. Wonder where he owns a house. Assuming he owns a house, but wonder where he considers to be home. Where when he gets his mail? Yeah, he probably doesn't get mail. Anyhow, team stat leaders. Left wing Jesper Bratt, center Nico Hischier. Yeah. And right wing Stefan Noesen, leading goals, three of those, yes, three. Leading goals with 10. Bratt also leads in assists with 18 and points at 28. So Jesper Bratt is your real dangerous guy there. 10 goals, 18 assists, 28 points. Time on ice leader is defenseman Brett Pesce, 21:08, which actually seems kind of low for the leader in defense. So they must really rotate their pairs in and out quite a bit. Defenseman Dougie Hamilton leads in shots with 77. Defenseman Jonathan Kovacevic leads the team in plus minus at 12. Defenseman Seamus Casey leads in shooting percentage at 50%, 3 goals on 6 shots in 8 games. So second is another one of those guys who leads in goals. Noesen is second, 25.6%, 10 goals on 39 shots in 23 games. So I think he's somebody to worry about when he's shooting the puck. But yeah, they've got 3 guys tied for the goal lead. Defenseman Brendan Dillon leads the team in penalty minutes with 35. And on the bottom of the plus minus is left wing Andre Pallet, defenseman Luke Hughes, and left wing Curtis McDermott. They are last at -4. I should have looked it up. McDermott, I think he used to play for the Kings. But it could be a different McDermott. But all right, tonight is New Jersey's 24th game of the year. They play at Pittsburgh tonight. No, they don't. No, they don't. They don't. That cut and paste error. Tomorrow night is New Jersey's 24th game of the year. They are not playing tonight. Last year, the New Jersey Devils were 13, 10, and 1 overall. 13, 10, and 1 overall. Their 24th game last season was a 2-1 win in Seattle. This year, they're 14, 7, and 2. So this year, 13, 10, and 1. Last year, 14, 7, and 2. So, yeah, it looks like they had a good start. But remember, they finished 7th in the Metropolitan. So something happened along the way. Tonight is also their 11th game at home. Last year, they were 5, and 1. At home. Their 11th home game was a 5-4 win over the Islanders. And this year they're 5, 3, and 2 at home. So very similar. Tomorrow night's game is the first of a 2-game series at home. Wednesday they will face St. Louis. The next 3 games alternate road and home games, Detroit, Washington, and the NHL. The Rangers, and then they play 5 at home. They are on a 2-game winning streak. They won last Saturday versus Washington 3-2, and then Thursday at Carolina 4-2. So that is the New Jersey Devils. The Nashville Predators, after the win against Winnipeg, which you would not know about if you just went to the ESPN /NHL or the NHL.com sites, you would not see that. But the win against the Jets makes the Preds 7-11-3 now. They are 2-5-0 on the road. They are in 7th in the Central Division for now with 17 points, 1 point ahead of Chicago. Chicago and Montreal are the league basement at 16. Nashville is tied with Ottawa and San Jose, loses the tie with Ottawa, wins the tie with San Jose. The Preds are 2-4-1 against the Eastern Conference and 5-7-2 versus the West. They are 1-1 against the Metropolitan. Tomorrow's game is the only one on the road trip, and the game is also the 22nd game of the year for the Preds. Last season, the Preds were 11-11 in their first 22 games. Their 22nd game was a 1-6 loss to Minnesota. They were 11-10 the first time that they had a winning record, and then it was that was short-lived. Tomorrow's game is the only one on the road trip. Right. Last year they were 11-11 in their 22 games. They're 7-11-3 overall this year. Tonight is the Preds' 8th road game. Last season they were 2-6 in 8 road games. The 8th road game was a 3-6 loss in Winnipeg. This season they are 2-5. So 2-5. Last season they were 2-6. Obviously, their home record is what's making a little bit of a difference. Injury update: right wing Michael McCarron is day to day. Transactions: defenseman Adam Wilsby has been reassigned from Milwaukee after the day before being sent back to Milwaukee. So I don't know if he actually got on a plane or whether he just sat around and watched his status move back and forth. Center Fyodal, that's what I'm going with, Vetchkov, that part I think is right, was recalled. He did play against Winnipeg, and they seem to think he did pretty well. So it was his first NHL game, and we won. So there you go. What more do you need? The Nashville Predators stat leaders, Forsberg and Yossi. Not much has changed here. Left wing Philip Forsberg leads the team in goals. He's tied in points, and he leads in shots. So 8 goals, 16 points, and 75 shots. Defenseman Roman Josi leads the team in assists with 12. He's tied with 16 with points. He's second in shots at 72, and he's first in time on ice at 25 and 25. Center Gustav Nyquist leads the team in shooting percentage. He did have a shot without scoring a goal, so it went down. 27.3%, 6 goals on 22. 3 of those goals are empty nets, but he has played 21 games. The other empty nets are Forsberg, Evangelista, and Yossi, all with 1. Leading the team in plus-minus is right wing Luke Evangelista at 1. In the bottom, centers Colton Sisson and Steven Stamkos at minus 14. And right wing Michael McCarron, who is on injured reserve, leads the team in penalty minutes with 30. Again, the Preds are playing this one game on the road, and then they come home Wednesday and Friday to play Philadelphia and Tampa Bay. So the Preds on the road. Okay, the Preds are 2-5-0 on the road. They lost their last road game Wednesday, November 20th, 0-3 at Seattle. The first period did not have any goals. The second period had a Seattle goal, and the third period had 2 Seattle goals, including an empty netter. So they did not get the first goal. They tied the one period, and they lost 2. So what do we want to know? What are they on the road? So on the road, the first goal, if they get it, they're 1-1-2. They're 1-1-2 if they get the first goal, and they're 1-4-1 if they do not. 1-1-2. Last year, after 22 games on the road, they were 2-3 if they got it, and 1-3 if they did not. So we know they turned their season around. They did have a better record at home last year because overall, through 22 games, they were 8-5 if they got the first goal, and then 3-2 if they did not. So 6-2 at home if they got it, 2-3. Not really considering that to be an indicator. Last year, it overall, at the end, it did wind up being an indicator. At home, when they're on the road. So on the road last year, they were 19-5-1 when they got the first goal. So almost a 4-1 advantage. And, now looking again at where they were at this point in time last year, 2-3. So they did turn it around, and it was meaningful at some point. But again, this is just looking at what the trends are. They did get the first goal against Winnipeg, but that was a home game. So we're focusing on away games right now because the next game is an away game. Oh, when they tie one on the road, when they tie one on the road, this year they're 0-4. Last year, through 22 games, they were 3-2. And then overall last year, they were 23-17. On the road, tying one, they were 11-6. So tying one was not a necessary harbinger of things to come. But losing 2 on the road, there's just, what can you say? Overall, last year, they were 1-23 because they had a game at home where they won 2 and lost 2. This year, they've had 2 on the road where they won 2 and lost 2. But in general, losing 2 periods is not a. Well, this year they lost 2 and they lost those 2 games even though they won 2. But usually winning 2 is a better harbinger of things, but not so much. Winning each period, taking each period in and of itself and saying how they're doing. This year, not great on the road. Winning the first period, they're 2-3-5, and the second period 3-5-2, and the third period 3-4-3. So they have a losing record in all 3 periods, and they're 0-3 in overtime. Last year, They fared a little bit better in the first and second periods, 4-2 and 3, 4-3 and 2. The third period, 1-6 and 2. So they had a terrible third period record last year through 22 games. So at least this year, that's better. Yeah. And they've gotten better in the first period. They were really bad in the first period earlier this season. Last year overall on the road wasn't great. 17, 10, and 14 in the first, which is good. But then 16, 16, and 9, which 2, which is okay, and then 14, 15, and 12. They were definitely better in the first and third periods at home. The second period, not. They were 12, 14, and 15 in the second period last year. Part of the reason why I'm doing this analysis is because how bad I thought they did in the second period last year. The winning goal right now on the road, 40% of the time it's being scored in the second period, 30% in the third, and overtime. The Preds, 50% in the second and the third. And the opponents, 38% in the second and overtime, and the third period, 25%. And I do not expect those numbers to be meaningful going forward. I expect it to be something more similar to last year's record, which was if the Preds got the winning goal on the road, 42% of the time it was in the third, 65% of the time in the second. I don't expect it to be that high, 65% for the opposition. This year, I expect them to do better in the first period because last year on the road, the opponents never scored the winning goal in the first period, but the Preds scored 17% of their victories on the road was scored in the first period, the winning goal. Goal scoring overall, the Preds are still in the hole, even taking out the empty nets. The Preds got an empty net the other night, so it's 6-8. On the road, 1-3. I need to break that out by home and away. I've taken the empty net goals out, but I haven't done it by home and away because I'm tracking the percentage of the scoring percentage. Right now on the road, the normalized goals per game is 1.8 for the Preds and 3.1 for the opponents. Totals are 18 and 31. They're 1-3, so it would be 17 goals for the Preds and 28 goals for the opponents. So, it would come down a little bit, the percentages, but they're definitely being outscored. 4-7 and 9 in the first, or 4-7 in the first, 9 and 12 in the second, 5 and 9 in the third. Take those those empty netters out, and it becomes 4 and 6. So they're still being outscored in the third period, and 0 and 3 in overtime. But there you go. Special teams. The Roads have had less had less power play opportunities, 31-43, but more goals, 5-3. The opponents do have 3 just after goals, with the Preds getting 1 shorthanded goal and 2 just after shorthanded goals. The just after goals, for those that might be new, it's my term. It's if a team scores a goal within a minute of a power play opportunity, then I call it a just after goal. So if they were shorthanded and they get a goal within a minute, then it's a just after shorthanded. And if they were in the power play and they got it, then it's just after power play. And the reason why I wanted to look at stuff like that was because the power play and a penalty kill are things that can give a team momentum. And that momentum may carry past the end of the penalty kill power play situation. And so I wanted to be able to track that. And so far, the opponents have gotten the advantage on the just after, but the Preds have it on the just after shorthanded. So There you go. The Preds on the road. So tomorrow night's matchup. Tomorrow night is the first game with the Devils and the only one in New Jersey. These two teams will play in Nashville in February. Last season, the visiting team won both games, with the Devils winning in February 4-2 and Nashville winning in April 3-2 in a shootout. In both of those games, the second period was a tie. In New Jersey, it was a 1-1 tie, and in Nashville, it was a 0-0 tie. Special teams, I did a lot of this looking into special teams because of playing Winnipeg and my head spinning about what it is that they're doing different. New Jersey is also one of the best teams in the league. So Winnipeg was number 1 in the power play percentage. I think they were 35. We gave them 3 opportunities and they scored 0. So that's going to lower their percentage a little bit. New Jersey is second at 31%. They have gotten 22 goals in power plays. Nashville is number 1 in the penalty kill, ticking up a tenth of a point to 91.7%, and they have given up 6 goals in a power play. In drawing penalties, the Devils are number 3 with 93, and the Preds are 10 with 83. Seemed like Winnipeg really they led in 5-on-5. They weren't they are not a team that gets or makes their living on penalties, so they don't get a lot and they don't take a lot. New Jersey is a little bit of different ilk. I think the 35. Their leader in penalty minutes is 35. I think the leader in penalty minutes for Winnipeg was 16 or 18. So take that for what you want. But they are 3rd in drawing penalties, and the Preds are 10th. Penalties drawn per 60 minutes, that's to average out because not always playing the same number of games. So in 60 minutes, New Jersey is 8th, getting just over 4 penalties a minute, and Nashville's 11th, getting just under 4. That's fairly close. The Devils are 12th in taking penalties. They are, and the Preds are 5th. I think another cut and paste area, but number 12 in taking penalties with 84, and the Preds 5th with 91. So the Preds, the Devils draw more penalties, and the Preds take more penalties. I think last night they kind of kept that under control. The Predators did. They will need to do that again against New Jersey. So in 60 minutes, the average penalties taken, the Devils are 18th at 3.6, and the Preds are 4th with 4.3. 4.3. So almost, not almost 1, but it's close. It's more than 2/3. So the Preds need to keep that under check. Now the Devils are good at drawing penalties, so we will see how good they are. I guess that's the way you have to put it. We'll see how all that works out tomorrow night. New Jersey is starting a 2-game homestand. They won their last 2, and they're 7-3 in their last 10. So they're playing pretty well. The Preds are on the road for 1 game. They did win their last game, and they are 3-5-2 in their last 10. Still trying to get their act together. The win against Winnipeg was great. They got that 4-0 win over Utah and thought maybe they turned it around then, and then it didn't really look that way. But I guess they changed up the lineups last night, the forward lineups. Marchessault wasn't on the line with Stamkos. I think he was on a different line. Stamkos and Marchessault wound up both scoring last night, which the first time that they have done that. while playing for the Preds. They could have done it playing somewhere else, like in their backyard. I don't know. But for playing for the Preds, that was the first time. So that good sign there. I think they mixed up the defensive pairings too, which is good. I think that worked out. Obviously, the Preds won, so that was awesome. And it'd be nice to see if they could kind of keep this momentum and keep what they're doing going. So tomorrow night, Saros should be in goal. Don't see any reason for Wedgwood to be in goal. I think that the team, we should see Wedgwood in goal more because he does need to get some work. But until the five guys in front of the goaltender are playing where you can be comfortable with that, I think Saros is going to have to be in goal and give those people the comfort of the number one goaltender behind them, and somebody's playing at a decently high level so that they can not be looking over their shoulder like Wedgwood was doing and had a goal scored on him. So. Markstrom should be in goal for the Devils. Again, their backup played in the last game. He hasn't played consecutive games yet this season. Not that he can't, but expecting to see Markstrom in goal for the Devils. Well, so there you have it. Tomorrow night, November 25th. Happy Thanksgiving week, everybody. The Nashville Predators will be in New Jersey to face the Devils. And it's going to be a tough contest. Hopefully the Preds can take the momentum from beating the best team in the league to beating the second or third, depending on how you look at it. Anyway, a very good team. And the Devils, the Preds are definitely going to have to be on their A game again. Anyway, thanks for listening. I am Preston Proctor, and you've been listening to Predators Proclivity.